The following program was produced by an independent community producer. The opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of the ECAT staff or board of directors.
Hi everyone, I'm Claudia Donnell and welcome to Cooking with Claudia. Here we are, we have survived the holiday season, I hope well, and we are now in frigid January. So here we are. Winter, but the good news is in January, it's very noticeable that the daylight gets longer, at least it's noticeable to me. So I'm in a happy frame of mind because the daylight is getting longer. And that's the best part. Also, the sunrises have been quite beautiful. So here we are. It's 2025 and there's big things happening here in Easton because Easton is celebrating its 300th birthday. So I think that's pretty remarkable. Tricentennial for Easton 2025, and there's amazing events being planned, and we just went to one that was the kickoff this past Saturday, and it was a wonderful event that was put on for families. It was very well attended. It was held at Stonehill College in their Sally Blair Ames Gymnasium. So there was plenty of room to move around, lots of wonderful things to do. So I would keep your eye on the events that are happening because there's some pretty cool stuff coming up. So today, in my decision to decide what we're going to make today, I've been reviewing the past few months. And in the past few months, chicken Parmesan was a very highly requested meal for catering as well as cooking lessons. So here we are, we're gonna make a nice chicken Parmesan, okay? So the first thing we're gonna start with is a delicious marinara sauce. So what I have here is fresh herbs. I have these big leaved things, that's basil. These little needly things, that's rosemary. And then you have these little leaves, that's oregano. So those are my three go-to Italian herbs when I'm making a marinara sauce. We also have some garlic that we're going to press in, and so we're going to go over there and get this started. This is called a Dutch oven. I love this. This is a great piece of equipment. I use it for soups, sauces, and just about everything else. I use mine at home frequently, and the one here at the kitchen I use quite often as well. So I'm going to put this on a medium heat. I put about 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil, and you can tell it's extra virgin because of the color. It's green as opposed to yellow. So we're going to put a little bit of that in, and I have a 28-ounce can of tomato puree. I am half Italian, and my sweet, beautiful Italian mother had this thing about tomato seeds and tomato skins. And we had to put when we were making a tomato sauce, everything had to go through a food mill, which is a little bit of a pain in the neck. Not that bad, but you know, it's a step I didn't really enjoy taking. And then they came out with puree. So the puree is a combination of strained tomato and a little bit of tomato paste. So it's really self-sufficient. So I'm going to put in, I've emptied this whole can, I'm going to put in about a cup of water. And the reason why we do that is we need to thin it out, number one. And the other thing we want to do is get any of the tomato that's still stuck in the can in the pot. Because if it's in the can, it's not going to go in our stomach. And that's where we want it to go. So in that goes. And we have my bouquet garni that had the herbs in that I just told you. By all means, you can use fresh herbs, you can use dry herbs. If you use dry herbs, just do half the amount that you would with fresh herbs. Fresh herbs, well, they're fresh, and they taste, to me, a lot better than dry. Although dry herbs are delicious as well. Now I got a garlic that I'm going to squeeze in there. All right. Now we're going to bring that up to a boil. And then we'll reduce it to a simmer and put the lid on. It's always good, once you've got all your ingredients in the pot, to give it a nice twirl. Get everything in there. I'm going to turn this up high, bring it up to a boil. Marinara sauce, there's many recipes for different sauces. This marinara sauce, don't judge me, but it took me about 5 years to get to the point where I'm really happy with the flavor of it. And what I had to do was figure out what herb I liked and the ratio of the herbs. I like the basil flavor, so my marinara sauce tends to have a lot of basil flavor to it. But this one has also got oregano and rosemary and the all-important garlic. Got to have garlic. All right, so this is starting to boil. You can kind of even hear it. Blop, blop, blop. So I'm going to give it another twirl, and I'm going to lower the heat. Put the cover on a jar. All right, so there's a little bit of space there for the steam to release. It will condense, or the liquid inside the tomato will evaporate some. That's why we want to keep it covered, but not completely. Okay, that's going to cook. We're going to come back over here now. So I have 3 cutlets already cut. I'm going to put on some gloves because I'm handling raw chicken. And you need to be pretty careful with raw chicken because it can contaminate a lot, and you don't want that. You want everything kind of secluded. I have a yellow board that I'm using. I use it at home as well. Yellow for me represents poultry. And so I don't use a yellow board if I'm cutting anything besides poultry. Even though it's cleaned and sanitized, it's strictly for poultry. So I have this big, huge, beautiful chicken breast, boneless, skinless. What I'm going to do is there's parts here that are a little unsavory looking. And if they don't look good to you, if you're making food for anybody else, it won't look good for them either. So I always tell people, if you don't like the way it looks, chop it off and get rid of it. So I'm going to cut these into 3 pieces. Now this one here is kind of thin, so I'm going to leave that alone. Just going to trim a little bit of the fat off because you don't want to put a mouthful of fat in your mouth, or at least I don't. So we kind of get rid of it. So we got that. There's a little bit of cartilage here where it was connected to the breastbone. So I'm going to get rid of that because the texture will be different. We don't want that. And then here, this is where the breast is attached to the wing. And there's some cartilage there as well as veins and stuff. So I tend to get rid of that because aside from fat, you don't want to bite into cartilage. So now we have 2 really thick pieces and 1 kind of thin piece. So I'm going to take this thick piece and I'm going to cut it in half, just like that. I didn't do a real good job with that one, but that's okay. This is called butterflying. So we're going to do it again on this side. And you don't cut all the way through. You cut to a little bit like that. So you want to open it up like a book, just like that. See? Okay. Now, we've taken these. I'm going to put it on plastic wrap. I'm going to cover it. Now, this is going to be noisy. This I like to call Thor. This is a meat tenderizer. So this part here is for like a thick roast that you want to tenderize. Bang, bang for thick steak. This is from one that's a little thinner. This here is what we're going to use because this is the flat side. We don't want to put any holes in the chicken. We just want to flatten it out. So we're going to start at the middle. We're going to give it a bang, and as it's coming down, we're going to swipe like that. We're going to just keep doing it. I told you it was noisy. It's also a lot of fun. I already have some that have been done previously. The object of this game is to keep everything in one nice depth. So this is just as good as those. So we're going to do it 2 more times to get these cutlets nice and flat. There, that one's done. Here we go. Isn't it nice? It's nice and flat. And it's important as you're going through to feel it. If it doesn't look like it's at the same depth, you want to feel to make sure. And if you feel this a lump, like right here, there's a big lump, I'm going to concentrate on that spot. Okay, what I'm feeling for is level, and it's good and level. So we have these all set now. Delicious. So there's 6 cutlets here. Somebody's going to eat well today. Ooh, it smells great. It's not even cooked yet, and it smells good already. So it's this nice little simmer going on. Going to give it another little twirl. Everything's good. We don't want the sauce to burn, so we tend to it from time to time. Give it a little bit of attention. Sauce is going. We have all of our cutlets now ready. So we have what's called a breading station set up. We have flour, eggs. There's 2 eggs in here and about maybe 1/4 cup of water. And these are panko crumbs, or panko. And panko is a Japanese bread that's very dry and crispy. I like it for my cutlets because it makes it nice and crispy. I like a good crispy cutlet. And this is what I consider to be the gold. It's the gold. These are the seasonings. So what I like to do when I'm making a breaded thing, I always recently decided, you know what? When I put spices and things in the crumbs, it all falls down to the bottom. And it doesn't, all those wonderful flavors don't get on the protein that you're trying to make delicious. So I have a tablespoon of salt, a tablespoon of granulated garlic, and a teaspoon and a half of granulated onion and a little bit of pepper. And I'm going to take and I'm going to generously season these cutlets. This is where your flavor is going to really reside, on the cutlet. So I'm going to do both sides. Oops. Oops. There. Oops. These tongs are great, but they don't always connect. All right, and on the other side, when you are putting any kind of seasoning on anything, you want to do it from up high because it distributes really evenly when you do that. If you go down too low, it's going to just concentrate in that one spot. But if you're up high and you're giving it a good sprinkle, you're going to get a lot of distance for a small amount of seasoning. Okay, now we have flour, which is step number 1. And we're going to put the seasoning in the flour. I am going to put a little bit in the panko crumbs because, you know, we don't want them to think that we're ignoring them. We're not. You just don't get as much. So we'll mix it up. And we're going to mix up the flour. And we're going to scramble the egg with a little bit of water in it and those spices, herbs. Deliciousness. Now, this is your breading station. Step number 1 is to dip it in the flour. Shake off the excess. Step 2 is put it in the egg. Step 3 is to have it here on the panko crumbs. Sounds perhaps a little counterintuitive. You probably think that you should put it in the egg first. You put it in the flour first because that's what will give the egg something to hold on to. So you want to shake off the excess, dip it in the egg, and again let the excess drip off. And put it in the crumbs. This is ready to fry. We're going to do that for every one of them, and then we'll be ready to fry. Now some of these are really big, like this one that I'm doing now. You can cut those in half if you want, which I think might not be such a bad idea. That's huge. And also, I am going to cut it because it'll be more easy for me to maneuver them when we're cooking them. These are going to get a nice fry. Oops. There. Life made more simple. Sometimes there's a little crease in the chicken and it doesn't get some of the breadcrumb on it. So we'll try to scoop up a little bit to make sure everything has a bit of coating on it. I think we're just going to make it with the crumbs and the egg. Oop. And that's another reason I don't put that much seasoning on the breadcrumb, because we often run out and then I have to try and figure out the ratio of seasoning for it. So I try to keep it as easy as possible for me. All right. Sometimes it comes out well and sometimes it doesn't. Every last crumb. We're going to use up every last crumb. All right, we're ready to rock and roll. Attention right now. I am going to put in 1/4 of a teaspoon of baking soda. You might want to come over here and yeah. Now, the reason why I'm doing that is baking soda will help minimize the acid in your tomato sauce. A lot of times people put sugar in their tomato sauce. See how it's foaming up? what that's doing, what that is the acid being eliminated. Hello, goodbye. A lot of times people get a little bit of heartburn, and this will help alleviate it. Won't take it away completely, but it will help alleviate it. And a lot of times people put sugar in their sauce because of the acid, and it makes it a little sweeter, which it does, and it tastes delicious, but it doesn't take away the acid, it just masks the acid. So if you want to get rid of the acid, put in 1/4 teaspoon per 28-ounce can of sauce, tomato puree in this case. So that's a very good ratio. It doesn't too much, and you'll be able to taste the baking soda, and that won't be a good thing. So this keeps it just where it's supposed to be. We're going to let that cook a little bit more before I put in any salt. Typically, for my taste, 1 teaspoon of salt per 28-ounce of puree is a good measure for the saltiness of that sauce. Okay, I'm going to turn this up, and we're going to put some olive oil in it. So you want to put in, I would say, a good, well, this is a big pan, so I'm going to put in a lot. And you want about 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch of oil on the bottom of your pan. I'm going to let it come to we want it to get hot. You don't want to put a cutlet or anything in cold oil, because what will happen is it will absorb the oil rather than cook. So you'd rather have it cook. You don't want to dig into something that's oily and greasy. So that's what we're going to do. So a couple ways for you to see if it's ready to cook. We're going to take a piece of panko crumb and we're going to toss it in. And if you see the panko start to foam up right away, it's ready to cook. This is not ready to cook. There's one other thing that you're going to use as a measurement. You're going to look at the surface of the oil. And if you see it to start to shimmer, then you know it's ready to receive food. It's almost ready. We're going to wait a little bit because I like it crispy. I don't like it greasy. And I'm making it for other people. And I don't want to present to them a greasy piece of chicken cutlet. Not good. All right, we're starting, and you want to hear it. You'll be able to hear it as well. Okay, we're going to go in. And I should have waited a little bit. It's starting to cook right away. You don't want to crowd the pan, so I'm only going to put in 2 or 3 pieces at a time. Because if you crowd it, what happens is the temperature of the oil is going to go down, and then they're going to sit in the oil until it comes back up to speed. And it won't get crispy. What it will do is soak up that oil that we're trying to avoid. We're going to watch this now. We're going to let it cook nice and easy. This is on like a medium-high heat. It's not splashing anything, which is a good thing because, you know, you don't need burns all over you. And we're going to let it cook. And you're going to look at the bottom of the cutlet that's in there. And we're going to wait until we can see it getting golden brown. Once it starts to get golden brown around the bottom, then we're going to flip it and let it go through the same procedure. So that's cooking. We're going to, after these are cooked, I'm going to put them on a tray, and then we'll put some sauce on it that we're making here and some Parmesan cheese, mozzarella cheese, and then we're going to bake it. So the thing is, when you put it in the oven, you really just want to get that cheese bubbly and melted, because the chicken is, for the most part, going to be cooked, mostly. Not completely, but mostly. And then the next 10 or 15 minutes that they're in the oven, it will cook completely. So now we have a nice golden, it's not too golden, but golden enough. Let it go, let it cook. One of the most difficult things about cooking is patience. You have to let it do its thing. If we try to hurry it, if I could turn the heat up, and what might happen is that they'll burn. We don't want them burnt. And if we don't let them cook properly, well, it's not going to taste good. So you want to, this is the first foray into deliciousness. Well, not the first, because we already put deliciousness on them. But we're going to check it. I'm going to leave it in a little bit longer. You're getting a nice color. You do want to drain it if you can. Get that oil, excess oil off. I have them sitting on a piece of parchment paper. I'll show you in a minute. And then we get this big guy right here. Perfect. Perfect. Okay. So, I'm going to get this out of the way. These are sitting on parchment paper. Because this is, once I finish, we're going to bring them over and get them ready to put in the oven. And these are pretty raw still, so they will cook through. I have the oven set at 425, I believe. Yep, 425. Now let's go and pay attention a little bit to our sauce, because now we have to put some salt in it. One teaspoon should do it. That's in. Give it a nice twirl. I'm going to put the cover on it again for a few minutes. Then I'll taste it and probably shut it off. All right, let's look over here. Cooking is the original multitasking event. Let's see how we're doing here. Oh, nice. And I don't mess with it. If you've noticed, I put them in and I leave them alone. I don't mess with them, because if I'm fooling around with them, they're moving them, having fun, it's not cooking. I'm just having a good time. The whole purpose of this is for them to cook so we can eat and have a good time. So we're going to let those cook a little bit. I have my tasting spoons. It's important also for you to taste your food as you go along, because if you don't taste it, you don't know if it's going to taste the way you want it to. So I just put a little spoon in. Perfect. I've made it once or twice, so it's kind of my thing. I kind of know the ratios. I'm going to shut this off, put the lid on, and I'm going to bring it over to the table. These handles get really hot, and trust me, I've burned myself more than once. I love the sound of food cooking. Let's see. Yeah, that's a beautiful golden brown, if I do say so myself. Here we are, ready to be dressed. Getting ready for the prom. All right, here we go. So we have our sauce and some mozzarella cheese. I always like the whole milk mozzarella. Well, I'm Italian, so if we don't have it whole milk, we don't really want it. Same with ricotta. And the way I justify it is we don't have it that often, so if we have whole milk once in a while, it won't be an unhealthy thing for us to do. At least That's my thought. Somebody might say you're full of baloney, Claudia, and that's possible. So we're going to put a ladle of sauce on each cutlet. Spread it around. Smells really good. You got to work on smell-o-vision, Adam or Melissa. You'll make a fortune. So there's a little piece of rosemary on one of them. I'm going to take that off. Oh, there's a whole bunch of them on that one. All right. Again, remember I said if you don't like the way something looks, whoever you're cooking it for, they might not like it as well. So I like the flavor of herbs, but I don't always want to eat them. So I will remove these leaves. Almost ready. Next thing we're going to do is sprinkle on the cheese. So you can see, actually, this is not a difficult meal to make. There are steps involved in it, but it's not a tough group of steps. All right, so we're all set here. Yeah, let you see what we're doing. And I'm going to take, this is shredded. I could have shredded it myself, but I didn't want to. So sometimes it's always good to have somebody else do things for you. And if you can, go for it. So I'm going to spread it out a little bit. So this is a ½ pound of shredded mozzarella, and I'm going to use it all because I like cheese on my Parmesan. I don't know if you do or not. And if you don't, hey, you know what? This is a really easy thing to make too if somebody is dairy-free. Or even you can make it gluten-free. Get gluten-free panko crumbs. They have them. I've got them here that I use for people. So you can modify this for most dietary restrictions or needs. And you're all set. That's pretty much all she wrote. Now, I don't know about you, but I think they look delicious. So, 425, we're going to put them in. I'm going to put them in for 15 minutes because these are still kind of thick and I want them to cook through. So in it goes. I'm going to put it on the top shelf. All right, I'm going to set the timer for 15 minutes. We'll be back. All right, so we're taking these out of the oven. They've been in for 15 minutes. Now, are we going to say we know that they're, in fact, cooked the way they're supposed to? No, we're not going to make that assumption at all. We're going to find the biggest piece, which looks like this one here. And I have my little thermometer. And if you don't have a meat thermometer, I suggest you get one because it will make a difference. So I'm going to take it. I have it turned on, and I'm going to put it right in the middle, just like that. Oh, all right, so what we're looking for is 160 degrees. Then we know if we take it off 160 degrees, it's going to go up about 5 more degrees, and it will be fine. This was 177 degrees, so we know these are cooked. You know if it's over the temperature, you're not going to kill anybody. You won't kill anybody, but if a chicken isn't cooked to the right temperature, it could make you very sick. So don't mess with it. 160 is your goal. And then when you take it out of the oven, it's going to cook at least 5 more degrees up. So you'll be in that very, very safe temperature range. And the other really good thing is the breast is not going to be terribly dry. So we have the marinara sauce today, and we have chicken parm. So let's take a look at the chicken parm. Delicious, delicious, delicious. I'll take this one here. You can take this now and you can make pasta to go with it because there's some extra sauce left over. Or you can take and put it in a little bit of bread and make a delicious chicken parm sandwich out of it. Now, see how well that's cooked? Okay, watch now. I bet you're jealous, aren't you? This is really good. So, marinara sauce, chicken Parmesan. You can make sandwiches out of it, make a pasta to go with it, make a nice little salad. You have a delicious meal. It didn't take long. It was an easy thing to do. The most difficult thing for you to do is to be patient and let things cook the way they're supposed to. So, we are all set for today. I thank you very much for your attention, and I hope to see you again next month. If you want the recipes, I'm happy to give them to you. Just contact me by email, claudia@cookingwithclaudia.com. And if you drive down Center Street, I'm located at 110 Center Street, behind Not Just Tabbouleh. If you see my flag out, we're here. Come say hello. So thank you again. We'll see you soon. Bon appetito. Happy cooking. Happy eating. Bye now.